Part 3 of what we might as well call MLP Terror from the Deep now opens with Pluma going to the drill bomb, burrowing down to the hole where Paradise Estate used to be, and comes up with half of the Flash Stone.
But you destroyed Paradise Estate! I had to destroy the estate to get to the amulet.
Actually, you didn't. You could have easily started digging outside and dug under it. Or, once you had everybody scared away, just pull up some floorboards and dig in that way. I mean, there are literally millions of ways that you could have gotten that thing besides blowing the whole estate away. There's something you need to know about Pluma. She's an idiot. However, they can apparently use the Flash Stone to restore Paradise Estate, but half a Flash Stone means only half of the estate is restored. They'll need the other half to restore it completely, but Bird Brain Pluma doesn't realize she holds the power, despite explaining that she does as she wants to hand it back to Squirk. Fortunately, Megan actually has a plan. Meanwhile, Squirk and his lackey Crank are watching over Ruff.
How's your ancient feathered friend? So help me, Squirk, if I ever get out of here, by cracky eye.
Oh, why, George? Why did you make him spout geezerisms? His feathers are gray. He's got jowls that would make a basset hound stare. He's even got old guy glasses. You don't need him saying geezerisms to tell us he's old. Ruff tries to use his shape-shifting powers to escape, but he's too out of shape to begin with, so Squirk and Crank laugh it up.
Well, real good, you know. Shut up!
And that's the running gag for the balance of the episode, folks. Pluma gets ready to signal Squirk while the ponies put Megan's plan to action. Buns and Spike are lying in wait even though all the water isn't sitting well with the dragon, and Megan has Fizzy make air bubbles large enough for them to fit in. Despite the process making her purple for a time, Fizzy manages to make bubbles for all of them, and Megan also causes baby sea ponies to take them down. Pluma sends the signal while Squirk explains to Ruff he's going to return the area to its flood states as his big uber plan of evil. The signal comes in and fries Crank, so he naturally has to go answer it. Crank comes up to get the Flash Stone, but Buttons plays keep away with her magic. Megan and the others in the meantime head down under Sea Pony power, but have to hide as Squirk passes by. However, that means that they can get the Ruff unharassed.
What tarnation? Who are you?
People your dingbat granddaughter made homeless. Danny gets to work on the cage while Buttons keeps the Flash Stone out of Crank's reach on the surface. However, Squirk's arrival distracts her long enough for Crank to get it. This sets up a tug-of-war which looks rather painful for Crank, but ends with Squirk grabbing Pluma, Buttons, and Spike and putting them in a giant clamshell to take underwater. Fizzy's trying to make bubbles in the underwater cave when Squirk shows up and captures them too. Instead of just killing them all instantly, Squirk puts them in your typical James Bond movie slow-acting death trap. They're tied up in a skull of some giant sea monster, with the upper half being held by seaweed ropes being gnawed away by giant turtles. The ropes are too tight for Pluma to transform out of because apparently she can't turn into anything smaller, so they're screwed. Squirk and Crank head out searching for the other half of the Flash Stone underwater because they never bothered to look for it before. They break into a song with some really psychedelic visuals as Squirk squeezes out some test rounds for the Flash Stone. They conclude with Squirk finding the second half just lying there and combining them. With the complete Flash Stone, Squirk starts Operation Flood It All to set up the cliffhanger. Part 4 opens with Squirk flying Dream Valley and Megan and the others about to be crushed back in the cave. However, Buns thinks of using the nearby shell as a wedge. She pulls it over and manages to get it between the jaws just before the ropes give way because these slow-acting death traps always have to be stopped with only 1 second to spare, you know. However, this has only put an extra minute on the timer as the shell begins to crack. Ruff tells Pluma to combine their shape-shifting powers, and after some convincing, they form a buzzsaw to get them all free just before the shell gives way. Squirk and Crank admire the new real estate acquisition, not knowing Megan and the others had made it to the surface. Danny even has a plan to stop Squirk, so they head back to Paradise Estate. Danny's plan is to drop Plumas down on Squirk and Crank. They just need to get them to the surface.
I think I know a way to do that.
Forgive me for not brimming with confidence in that statement. They look for Squirk but find no sign of him. That means that a little change is in order. Squirk is deep underwater and ready to do some more zapping, but Crank wants to go. However, Squirk tells him to remember his place as he blasts a random hole.
I never get nothing to do.
Except get slapped a lot. They come out and see a colorful light coming from the surface. This is from Plumo's Prism. Squirk is naturally pissed that they've all escaped, but they say that they want to wave the white flag. However, Danny signals to Pegasus to get in position. Squirk is more than willing to accept her unconditional surrender and doesn't realize the danger from above until the Pegasus drop the net on him and pull a taunt. Squirk's answer to this is to go berserk and fire the flash stone randomly at the ponies on land, but not the Pegasus holding him. Though Wind Whistler's "I'm doing something awesome" shield from the movie might be in play here. Bun starts willing the flash stone out of Squirk's grasp and gets it to Megan. Megan gets on Wind Whistler and uses the flash stone to reverse the flood. The water rushes out, taking Squirk and Crank with it. Oh yeah, now I get to do something where everything's gone to hell. They're flushed down the hole, but the valley has been wrecked. Megan restores it to a song that just makes me want to say, "Bring back Tammy." She finishes up by restoring Paris' estate and then destroys the flash stone because that's what they do with incredible powers on this show. I bet they threw that thing in the deepest pit they could find when they were done with it. Pluma gets forgiveness from the ponies for the whole ordeal, and she and Ruff head home. The Ghost of Paradise Estate was the high note George Arthur Bloom was able to leave the show on. Squirk cemented himself as one of the more notable entries in the ponies' rogues gallery with his scheme and actually being able to fulfill it. It was also a story where the ponies took care of business themselves, even if they were working off of Megan and Danny's plans. It was also one of the most convoluted stories in the series. It went from the ponies maintaining Paradise Estate to a haunting to a Lovecraft parody, yet it was able to connect these seemingly disjointed plot points very well. However, there were a few faults too. Ruff's geezerisms put my teeth on edge, and Pluma made me facepalm a few times. All four songs were particularly lame too, but that's partially because Bettina and Frank Welker were the lead singers. At least Welker is a laughably bad singer, and his songs were backed up by the fever dream-like visuals. But my problem with Bettina is her singing style didn't work with the kind of songs NLP had. Her voice worked with the quick and synthesizer-heavy soundtrack of Rainbow Bright, but the same cannot be said for the slower, more acoustic-backed songs of My Little Pony. All in all, I rate this episode as recommended, and in fact highly recommended. And so ends the contributions of George Arthur Bloom to this series. Being the exclusive writer of pony television media up to this point, his involvement was definitely a reason it got as far as it did. While he faltered at writing feature-length stories, he is definitely the one who built the storytelling foundation of the television franchise. Unfortunately, it would take a little while for someone to come along who could build anything of note on that foundation.